Agostino Renna, you've been 6 months in your role. What are your immediate priorities?
I think the first is around this aspect of just really simplifying the business. We have a lot of moving parts in the business. Some of it related to the fact that we operated in a market that's going to be significantly different in the future. And so simplifying the business is something I think a lot about.
So what does that mean in practice?
I think what it means in practice is to structure the business in a way that is a little flatter. It means that we have to contemporize our operating practices and processes, meaning time to decision making, number of layers of approval, and so we want to be able to take some of that out of the business so that we can move more quickly and ultimately have a business that's simpler. So simplification and speed are two things that we're working on quite heavily. The third, I would say, is just a heightened sensitivity to customers, customer behavior, customer trends, and this really becomes very, very important to us as we move from the traditional product families that we've been known for to the LED product families that have market lives that are going to be significantly shorter than what we're used to. And so being able to sit more closely to our customers, to our end users, understand what they're seeing and hearing, what they want to buy, what they don't want to buy, ultimately will be the thing that shapes our technology strategy and our go-to-market strategy over time. So those are speed, simplification, and customer centricity, I would say, are the three things that we're heavily focused on right now.
You've arrived in the lighting business at a very interesting transitional time.
Yes.
Would you say it's an advantage to have a legacy, or would you say it's better to come in as a purely LED company?
Well, I think it can be a double-edged sword is the answer. It can be an advantage by virtue of the institutional knowledge that we have on lighting and how you create lighting technology. It could potentially be a disadvantage because some of the businesses that we're currently in will cease to exist in the future, and we have to figure out how we unwind those businesses in a way that's responsible and timed based on market demand.
The timing of the decisions you make during that transition are really crucial, aren't they?
The timing of the decisions we make are absolutely critical. And I talk a lot about this with my own team is if you engage too quickly and too heavily in the space that we view as the future space, then what likely happens is that you've made a lot of investment and will likely not see the return on that investment for an extended period of time. So going in too heavily, too early is dangerous. Going in too late is equally dangerous because then you're third or fourth to the party and are left kind of picking up the pieces that the others didn't grab. And so really for us this becomes an issue of becoming something I mentioned earlier, hypersensitive to market signals.
Many would say that Philips bet earlier on LED lighting than you guys. How would you characterize your position against your major competitors?
We're all learning the new game, whether it's the old players in the industry that are having to retool and reinvent themselves, or the new entrants that are coming into this with a white sheet of paper. We are all learning the industry, and in fact we're learning it together with the end user community, who is still trying to figure out what LED means, what it's capable of, what it's not capable of. And so I think to the extent that we're collaborative in our mindset and that we help re-educate and retool the industry, because all of us have a fiduciary obligation to the industry we represent, I think we all land in a good place because we're good companies, and ultimately at the end of the day we'll compete fairly and the market will determine who wins and who loses. So I'm very comfortable about where we are and what we see in the future.
The received wisdom in the business has been that vertical integration is key to a solid state future. What's your take on that?
You know, I think the whole definition of vertical integration will change over time. When you think about what vertical integration meant in the lighting industry of 50 or 60 years ago, it meant that you started with sand and made your own glass and then went from there all the way to finished product and packaging. And I don't know that we get caught up on we should make all of this stuff ourselves or we should buy it from others. What we do get caught up with or on is we have to create the best product in the world. And so whatever that formula looks like and whatever formula delivers the most favorable economics both for us and for our customers is how we make our decisions.
The big three lamp companies, Philips, GE and Osram, have dominated the business since the war. How do you see that? We're going to see a big three in 5 years' time, 10 years' time?
So I don't know the answer to that question. What I will say is the following. I think that the big three will retool, reinvent, and re-embrace the new world, and they will do that successfully. I think we're going to have a different set of players that will enter the market and frankly make all of us better. So we spend a lot of time looking at the players that are entering this space with a white sheet of paper because we learn from them. And there's a benefit to be able to enter this space unencumbered. And so as much as we keep an eye on our traditional friends from the old world, we keep a particular eye on the new entrants because they have a different formula for how it is they want to compete in the solid state lighting world, which we can learn from.
The issue of mis-selling, particularly in some of the new players that are coming into the business, has become a big issue in the market. What's your view on what's going on at the moment?
First and foremost, our general view on this is we welcome good competition. And that's something that I think our company believes in. And ultimately, when you get up every day surrounded by good competitors, it just makes you a better competitor in that field. The way that the industry gets ahead of this is through standardization, through harmonization of evaluation practices on the different things that go to market. So what does it mean to have a certain level of performance? What does it mean to have a certain useful life? I think that testing requirements should be harmonized and should be the same for everyone, so that when everyone says that a particular piece of technology has reached a certain level of performance, that definition of performance should be consistent. And so to an extent, I think we as an industry have an obligation to police ourselves in the spirit of making sure that this new technology is seen through a positive light versus potentially tainted by entrants that make promises that they can't keep. I do think that this will be with us for the front end of this market transformation. It'll get cleaned up very quickly and very naturally as companies start to, the good ones start to succeed, the bad ones start to fail, and all of that noise I think will subside over time. But we have to be hyper diligent at the beginning to make sure that everyone is competing on a level playing field.
The 50,000 hour life metric has become a bit of a standard in the industry, but it's being severely questioned now, not least the fact that it may leave manufacturers open to legal action in the future. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I think that, well, for one thing, our general philosophy on any of this is that when we put something in a spec sheet, the product will do what it says on the spec sheet. And so I worry less about what others are saying and more about the fact that when we make a promise, we keep our promise. We all have an obligation to put on our spec sheets the accurate information of what the product will do, and then to the extent, because that creates competitive advantage or disadvantage, and to the extent that you can outsmart your competition by creating a product that has a longer useful life, then that should be a differentiator for you.
With solid state lighting, we're moving into the tipping point in various sectors, not least in retail. What other markets do you see tipping over to solid state lighting?
Yeah, so I think the retail space is one that is activated very quickly. When I think about some of the other verticals, in the outdoor space, in municipalities in particular, we see a fair amount of activation, but what we're seeing right now is a lot of pilot projects and not many at-scale projects. So the projects that we're winning right now are 500 pieces of this, 1,000 pieces of that, 1,200 pieces of this one, where municipalities are trying to validate both the quantity and quality of light as well as the economics of doing these retrofits. And I think that the scale projects are right around the corner. Over the next 18 to 36 months, I think we'll start to see cities retrofitting 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 luminaires, and that'll be good for the industry. When I think about offices, the office environment is a difficult one for a lot of different reasons. For one, because good enough has been a standard of many office buildings. And quite frankly, traditional technologies in the lighting space are still good enough. And so what I think gets the office environment to move to the LED space over time will be as technologies continue to climb the performance curve in the LED space, as prices continue to come down, I think we'll reach a tipping point where the office environment will be viewed as one that will adopt these LED technologies.
Just how big a product category do you see LED tubes becoming?
The cost curve will need to come down. I think the performance levels are pretty good, but we're going to have to bring that cost level to a point where the economics of that investment are viewed as equally favorable to the stuff that we've used in the past, or the LFL product families that we've used in the past.
What will GE look like in 5 years' time as a business?
So I can certainly speak for GE Lighting. I wouldn't be able to speak for the General Electric company without getting in a whole lot of trouble, in fact. You know, I think that when I fast forward 5 years from now, our lighting business will be predominantly an LED business. I would say that if you look at the research and development money that we spend on product, it'll very quickly become sort of 90 cents on every dollar will be pushed into solid state lighting. An area of development for us is the area of intelligent devices. We think that one of the big opportunities that becomes available to us by virtue of solid state lighting is this aspect of controllability and this aspect of optimizing design for behavior. And what that basically means is that you could envision embedding intelligence into luminaires that would allow that luminaire to sense the temperament of the particular space that they're illuminating and make real-time decisions on the quantity and quality of light that the luminaire produces to react to the way that space is being utilized. So that's one opportunity we're excited about. The other opportunity that we're excited about is the ability to use these luminaires to provide internet-based services that would be considered adjacencies to the lighting space. So for example, if you think about the outdoor space, would it be thinkable to attach a Wi-Fi service on an outdoor luminaire? Would it be thinkable to create applications that come off of these luminaires for the tourism industry? So there's a whole other set of services that we think we could envision that would be natural adjacencies by virtue of the fact that there is a luminaire sitting, you know, every couple hundred meters in every city around the world, and that to the extent that we can leverage that luminaire to provide other, call it smart city services, it opens up another area of opportunity for us. So we spend an awful lot of time thinking about what those new world services and technologies look like. And so I think 5 years from now, we'll be predominantly an LED lighting business. And on top of that will be a whole suite of, call it smart services, that have at their core the platform of the LED technology from which and with which to jump off to provide some of these more creative services.
Agostino Renna, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.